Hello and welcome to the tech webinar covering how to optimize the OnStation and FleetWatcher integration. My name is Jess and I'll be guiding us through our conversation here today. Our goal is to cover the integration and how it works and how your company can set it up to get the best value from both systems. But first, I'm so excited to introduce our two speakers here today. We have Luke Clark Hampelman, an implementation specialist, joining us today from FleetWatcher. If you're a FleetWatcher user, you may have already met him, as he trains new clients, helps build an understanding of the product, and how its data can provide materials management solutions. We also have Dave Thomas from OnStation. As the Director of Business Development, Dave works closely with partners to develop and deploy integrations across multiple industry tested and trusted systems. He has helped oversee this integration with FleetWatcher and will be providing insight and expertise on how the two systems work together. Before we get right into things, please feel free to leave us any questions throughout the webinar that Dave and Luke can answer at the end. We also have some teammates on standby in the chat to answer your questions as well. After the webinar, we'll be sending out a quick survey to get your feedback so we can improve things for next time. So I say let's dive right into this. So from what I know, on one side you have FleetWatcher, which is the materials management solution. And then on the other side, you have OnStation, the location solution. Luke and Dave, could you both take a quick moment to describe what each of your systems do to provide these solutions?
Absolutely. I would take a first swing at this bat. So here at FleetWatcher, we're actually using telematics systems to accurately track the locations and statuses for your on-road and off-road assets. And that's by gathering GPS locations and headings and providing that in a mobile app and a desktop format. So with this accuracy of GPS tracking, we're actually able to create what we call shifts, and that benefits our material management live and post review of the day's work. Anything from driver behavior, tonnage amounts, even along with a list of reports that can detail your overall productivity, time, or expense spent on the job. So we also, even kind of attributing with the OnStation, we also have integration specialists that are trained to create pathways, or as some call e-ticketing, as you might know, from your scale software into our site for cleaner, more accurate, and hopefully easy dispersal of those scale ticket and their information to your team and to DOT officers. And I'll let Dave take it from here on his own side.
Thanks, Luke. And thanks, Jess, for the introduction. And hello, everybody. And thanks for joining us here today. So at OnStation, we say that we are a collaborative digital stationing platform that enables location-based documentation from bid to close. So let me break that down for you and just explain how we accomplish all of that. First is the OnStation mobile app. This is available for both Android and iOS phones and tablets. We take the digital CAD files created for your job and digitally station that project in the OnStation platform. Workers out in the field, they can use the OnStation mobile app, which will provide them with an instant station alignment and offset of any location on the project. Users out in the field can also use our flag and chat system to drop a marker on the map, add notes, add pictures to document the work that they're doing. Similarly, there are capabilities to do live data and test information capture directly through OnStation forms, but we'll talk a little bit about that later in the webinar. OnStation also provides a data portal. This is useful for project closeout or for exporting all of the information that you've collected on your project. Managers back in the office can log into the data portal, select their project, and select whatever information has been collected in the app to be exported into several different file formats.
This is great. It sounds like both systems are really a part of this tech wave happening within our industry. And now that we have a little bit of product knowledge, can both of you give an overview of how this integration actually works?
Absolutely. And perfect that you're even showing this image for us. So what you're kind of getting a representation right now of is our scale ticket summary page. So just to detail this out, this is what we're pulling from our integrated scale sites where we are seeing the loadout ticket that's received, sent to our system, and we're populating that into the fields that are needed. Now, FleetWatcher uses hardware that can be installed in your trucks and your pavers. It allows us to accurately read those current locations of said GPS locations. This hardware on pavers even creates what we call like a geofence for us, which gives us more accurate times. That's going to be able to display when they're leaving certain areas. But to even dive a little bit more on the scale ticket summary, we're pulling such things as the dump GPS latitude, longitude, as you can see in the left side. We've got the overall customer name populating there. And with our OnStation benefits, we're showing that station STA and OnStation integration to the far right. I can let Dave speak more to that feature, and we'll display that inner and outer geozone here in just a little bit as well.
Luke, that's a great explainer, right? So just for everybody that's looking at the screen right now, if you see that far right-hand column, OnStation integration, this is the information that the OnStation database is supplying to FleetWatcher. And as Luke said, when the truck and the paver, if the equipment is present in both, when those two geofences cross, it sends a lat-long ping to OnStation. We then query our database to see if we have an alignment file that represents that lat-long coordinate. And if we do, we automatically supply the station alignment and offset for that lat-long ping right back onto the scale ticket. Makes it super easy to know where your material was brought to site.
We're going to pause really quick. I need to let people in to the webinar.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Should we restart the countdown clock?
It's set. It's going. Well, let's just continue. I'll figure it out while you guys are answering this next question of, we're talking about location. How accurate is it? We have OnStation with the stationing, and then we have FleetWatcher with your systems. How accurate are these dump e-tickets like actually getting?
Gotcha. And I can take that kind of first. And I'm thrilled that we've got this display up here because this is something I actually use quite often when I'm working with clients off the beginning. Now, in a very detailed way, I want to just state that our API functions with hitting upon a receipt of what we call a first ping. And that's after the truck is going to exit what we call an inner geozone. Now, that's going to report to us onto our system because our pavers report every 30 seconds of any time that there's a movement from them, we're pinging in, and the trucks report every 60 seconds. Now that I've given a little detail, I want to actually explain how you can view that on this photo we've got here. So you're noticing this blue circle. Inside of that blue circle, you're going to see a paver icon, but just around that paver icon and where that purple box and line is drawing your attention to is what we call our inner geozone radius. Now, how our system works is a truck, much like you see on the outside of that blue circle, would travel inside. It would notify you once we've reached inside the blue circle, hey, we're on our way to dumping the load at the paver. Once it reaches the innermost green circle, the moment that that asset then leaves that green inner circle, our inner geozone radius, that is when we're going to drop a line indicating the dump location. And in that moment, our GPS lat longitude is providing that information over to OnStation.
Yeah, and just sort of build off of what Luke was just saying there, just in general, when you're thinking about OnStation and using it to find a location or to document something in the field, we say our normal tolerance is for the app to be within 2 to 5 feet of accuracy. For this integration in particular, though, since we're just receiving information from FleetWatcher, the information we're able to provide back is dependent on the accuracy of their system. And as Luke has so eloquently put, they do a great job of getting really good, accurate dump location information. So when they send us that lat-long coordinate, again, all we're doing is translating that from a general GPS coordinate into a project-specific station alignment and offset to put directly onto the scale ticket.
Yeah, so it sounds like this integration is kind of like working behind the scenes. So you know exactly where you are, you know the accuracy is on point, literally. And you know, you've proven that kind of through how you've explained, you know, the above slide that we're showing. So do you have any use cases or any recommendations on how customers can take advantage of the two systems when they're synced together?
Yes, I can definitely add in almost a user case from this perspective, and it brings up a topic that I haven't addressed yet. This is kind of a quote that I received from Lucas Slotin over at Border State Paving, who is both using FleetWatcher with an OnStation integration as well. And he said FleetWatcher partnering with OnStation has been a great tool for us, and we like the feature a lot. It has helped our company by getting employees off of the highway and away from the traveling public, and one less person around Big Iron that's moving down the road to the paving highways. That's excellent. The integration makes our operation a lot safer by getting our ticket taker away from our semis and pavers to gather very important information to the state DOT by integrating with these two companies together. So just imagine one less person to worry about in a potentially dangerous area.
Yeah, I mean, great example, Luke. And shout out to Lucas if you're out there listening. Thanks again for helping us to pilot this last summer. Just one use case I'll start with is, you know, everything else on the project is generally referenced by stationing. So in our minds here at OnStation, we would say, why wouldn't you want your e-tickets or your materials management to be referenced by stationing as well? The second use case, and thanks, Jess, for bringing up the slide, I want to talk about how powerful it can be when you start to tie your project documentation and performance testing with your materials management, right? So these are two screenshots that we've taken from the OnStation data portal. In the top screenshot, you can see a number of flags that have been dropped along this alignment. In particular, this contractor was using OnStation, and they were using these yellow and purple flags to start marking out where they had cut all of their cores out there on the project. In the image below, you can see this is how we ingest information from FleetWatcher. When they send us that lat-long ping, we create a record of that in the data portal so that you can always go back and reference it in our system as well. Jess, you can move to the next slide. So when you open one of those flags, again, OnStation does a great job of capturing who created that flag, the date and the time that it was created, and the station alignment and offset of where on the project this was documented. I also chose to include this particular flag because this user happened to include a picture as well. And you can see that any picture taken in OnStation, we're just going to stamp that location information right at the top of the image. So again, they were using these to start marking out where have we cut our cores on the project. And then Jess, if you go to the next slide, this is just an example of one singular e-ticket that we created a record for in our system. Again, the information we capture from FleetWatcher, we will give you a reference number, a ticket number, will tell you the type of material and the weight that was included on the ticket. And so again, if you think about a situation where perhaps you just finished a project installing a new road, 3 years from now, you get a complaint that there's cracking in the asphalt or the material, and you need to go back and figure out what was happening in that particular area of the project that might have led to that failure. If you can match up your materials management system with all the performance and project data that you've already collected in the app, that enables you to find the answer of what happened much faster. And so in our minds, again, this is all driving towards efficiencies of making sure that when I need to find something, do I have a tool that enables me to go back, figure out where I was, what I was doing in order to answer those questions.
So what I'm kind of hearing, you know, to sum all that great information up, is you can power your materials management system with a project specific location information, basically. So that's my interpretation though. Can you guys both just sum up and describe the information that you just gave in like a few short sentences?
Yeah, and I feel like a few short sentences is something that we could totally go way over on, and because this topic could expand. But I feel like anything additional, giving you more specific location information, especially in this industry, is going to benefit everything across the board. And I feel like in my role as implementation, there's just too often where I hear from clients who state that they just feel that they're falling behind in times of advancing, how they're gathering their materials or saving an overall cost or how they function day to day or job by job. I would say in a very easy way, we are trying to make material management easy to integrate, follow, and add in additional softwares such as OnStation.
Yeah, I'm going to cheat a little bit. The original question was, can you answer it in one sentence? And I'm going to instead use three words that come to mind. And Luke, I think you'll agree with all of these as well. So the three words that come to mind are the benefits of this integration: safety, efficiency, and accuracy. So starting with safety, as we heard from the quote that Luke read from Lucas Slotin at Border States Paving, roadway construction is an inherently dangerous field. There's a lot of heavy equipment. There's the traveling public, distracted drivers. At the core of what OnStation and what FleetWatcher want to do is remove as many of those dangerous variables as we can. Again, with this integration, you no longer have somebody in the way of the heavy iron or the equipment where they could get injured, right? Because we're having two systems talk to each other rather than have a person be put in harm's way. When I think about efficiency, again, this is a very manual process right now where you have somebody in the field manually entering station information onto either physical tickets or e-tickets. And that's not the highest producing value task that they could be doing out there on the job. So in my mind, if we take one person away from having to manually enter that information and instead rely on the two systems to talk to each other, we can take that person and put them towards a more high value producing task, doing something else on the job. The last, like I said, is accuracy. This is where we've heard from multiple companies that have piloted this project or piloted this integration that the information provided by the OnStation integration is more accurate than what their people in the field are able to provide. Because normally the person who's manually receiving those tickets is in a truck behind the paver, and they're relying on something like stake or lath in the ground to guesstimate a station of where the delivery happened. Instead, since we have the entire alignment built in OnStation, when we get that lat long coordinate, you can be sure that, again, our location is going to be 2 to 5 feet within that lat long coordinate that the FleetWatcher system sent us. So again, for me, it all comes back to safety, efficiency, and accuracy.
So the next question I got to ask you guys, what's next on the plate for both of the companies?
Well, what would be next? Almost like how we're evolving, how we're kind of going beyond this. I would say there's many things that we're having. I mean, we're having bi-weekly updates, whether it's between our mobile app or our websites. We're trying to make it more user-friendly. We're trying to add in features that our clients are requesting that's going to help them. We've also even got some new tools that are coming out that are almost taking away that old function of how everything was ran, paper or signing, or trying to streamline that, whether it's a new feature of ours called dynamic yield calculation, where we're understanding the track thickness, the width, the overall production of mainline paving material, or taking shift tickets out of the responsibility of trying to manage how much time someone's working on a job. We could also talk about dispatching. There are countless things that FleetWatcher is just trying to make easier, quicker, and more dispersible across your entire team.
I feel like I'm living in the land of threes today because I'm going to give you three big things that I'm excited about for OnStation. So first and foremost, we are targeting a release of what we're calling OnStation 4.0. It will be our next major update. For those of you that are familiar with OnStation, you know how often we push updates to the app. Mark your calendar for August because that is our internal target for releasing 4.0. And one of the big things that's included in that is just additional offline functionality. Right now, OnStation users can use an offline map so that even if they don't have cell phone service on their project, we can still provide live station alignment and offset information. With 4.0, what we're including in that is data caching, right? So any picture that you take inside of the app, any flag that you drop to start taking notes of your project record, all of that information right now can't be sent to the database if you don't have a connection to a cellular network. But with 4.0, what we're going to do is temporarily cache that information on your device locally. And then when you reestablish connection with the cellular network, all of that information will push to the OnStation database, and it just makes it more seamless. The second thing that I'm very excited about is just further partnerships. This is a great start for us partnering with FleetWatcher, but we know that there are other trusted industry technologies out there, and we have a very solid understanding of what OnStation does well, and we know that you, as our clients, have an understanding of where that information might be helpful to push or pull from. So just be on the lookout for us trying to work with more companies that you're also using. The third thing that I'll say is it's my baby right now. It's something I've been working on very hard for the last month and a half or so, is OnStation Forms. Again, with the introduction of the data portal, that has made it easier for OnStation customers to mass export any information collected by their people in the field. What we've realized, though, is that a lot of the testing that happens out on site is normally recorded with pen and paper. You go out and do a density test, you take pen and paper, you write down your results, then you have to come back to the office and re-enter that information into a spreadsheet or a PDF form. With the OnStation Forms feature, we'll be able to recreate that information that you need to capture inside of an OnStation flag so that it can be captured one time live in the field with no more double data entry. And as a special, I guess, incentive for those people who are joining us on the call today, we plan on releasing that feature on June 26th. But when our sales team or somebody from OnStation follows up with you, if you mention that you heard this on the webinar and you're interested in trying it, I am willing to give everybody a free sneak peek preview before we release it to the public.
That's awesome. Now I got to ask, because you were talking about partnerships and how that's the next step. As the Director of Business Development, Dave, with your expertise with the partnership of FleetWatcher, how do you see this kind of growing and evolving with FleetWatcher and like the integration and the next steps?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would put the onus on everybody that's on this call today to help us think about this, right? I think we've settled on a really great first starting point. There's a natural connection between the materials management, where it's brought to site, and how OnStation can provide better location information. But when you look at the big picture of everything that FleetWatcher does and everything that OnStation does, there are definitely probably endless connection points that we could think through. So I would just encourage everybody on the call to continue to push our teams to think more about what information from FleetWatcher is helpful to display in OnStation, and what information from OnStation would you want to see back in FleetWatcher to help you manage all of your materials.
So Luke and Dave, I guess the big question is, what do you need? Like, what do you need from both systems in order to get this integration to work within your company?
I was kind of wondering this when we get to the actual recipe that would have to be made. So yes, there are some requirements. Obviously, the FleetWatcher purchase, but we're going to need those telematics devices for your pavers, for the trucks going to the locations, while also creating shifts within the site. Now, the only outlier from that is when you do sign on with us, we will establish the plants you want to integrate. So we'll take that step of getting integrated with those plants, but layman's terms, it is devices, integration, FleetWatcher shifts.
Yeah, on our side, first and foremost, like Luke said, you need to be a customer of OnStation. So we sell OnStation in packages that fit the size of your company and the technology needs of what you want to see. There is a pricing page on our website, and I'd be happy to follow up with further details if people have questions. But for today's webinar, just know that you have to be at the OnStation team package or above to enable this integration. And then we put it in the hands of our customers to tell us which of these projects do you want to see the integration present on. We allow you to pick that. The second thing is your project has to be an OnStation. We have to have the station alignment and offset information in order to be able to convert GPS coordinates into station alignment and offset, obviously. And there's two simple ways to do that. First, we have a database of over 1,500 projects, I believe, currently in OnStation. You can go onto our website, use our project search tool to find projects in your area that might have already been created either by the DOT or another contractor in your area. Or if your project isn't in OnStation already, there's a simple submit a project form on our website. All you have to do is give us your name, a little bit of information about the job, and then there's a document library at the bottom of the form to add the CAD files. Once you do that, all of the hard work is off of your plate. We have a full-scale engineering team here at OnStation that digitally stations each project into the platform, and we'll give you a specific code when that job is ready for you to access it in the mobile app.
All right, I think we got through the easy part. Hard part, question and answer, let's get right to it. So someone asked, so OnStation's primary function is tracking materials?
For this presentation, yes. Think about it that way. That's helpful. I would encourage you to think about any time that you take out a pen and paper to take notes on your project. That's something that you could be doing in OnStation. We have customers that are using OnStation to mark out all of their boring locations. We have customers that use OnStation and the design layers to identify right-of-way and property lines when they're talking with property owners about where roads or where assets are going to be moving through their property. So at the core of what we do is providing good digital information to everybody on the project about their location. And then there's obviously everything else builds on top of that.
And I can even add on to that, even though I know it was directed towards OnStation.
Help me out,
that
Luke.
is one of the that is one of the primary focuses of FleetWatcher. We're the site that's going to display that scale ticket that's being pulled over from your integrated scale. That's giving us all the details on tonnage, where it's going, who that customer ID was for. And then also we're managing the shift itself. We're understanding how many cycles are going into it, how many loads are going into those cycles, how that driver behavior is going on. Is that affecting your material with any amount of time you're spending with a load that has to be taken directly to a site and is taking a long time there? We obviously see bottlenecks. All that material management can be a factor in FleetWatcher. I think just the partnering with OnStation gives us that additional bonus of location tracking, understanding where these are occurring at, almost to the foot, like we were saying, 2 to 3 feet.
Awesome. Some individuals relate to this webinar, so I just want to make sure that this is a live integration. We're talking about things that you can contact FleetWatcher and OnStation about today. We're just kind of doing a deeper dive because it's so new in the industry. So another question, could the FleetWatcher functionality give editable tickets in a PDF file that includes location date?
That is a great question. And it is something that we have. So we are able to edit what is actually presenting on those PDF tickets. We have a whole field that populates, it could be 40 some odd different tabs or so, or say line items that we can enter in. We're able to pull in the individual ones that you want. Now, granted, that has to be uploaded from the plant side as well, because we're only just pulling from the plant's information that it gives out. But what's great about that is not only are we providing a PDF format, we also have an easy function that allows you to download all of your tickets for that day in one PDF form, and also being able to email directly to an individual, whether that's a DOT user or someone in the company you need to provide that to. You can either send all those PDFs together or an individual ticket that you all could be discussing.
Perfect. So last question that we can take for today. What are some potential hurdles new companies may experience when adding your platforms, and how can your customers overcome them?
Dave, I'd love to take this first. I know that this is probably why I'm on this webinar. So like Jess was saying, I am part of the implementation team. So I am that first face. I am the one that's going to lead you through these trainings. I'm taking your late night calls, helping you solve an issue. It is like any other platform or any other trying to implement a new process into a system that's been already running. It is going to have its challenges, whether it is user error or having to realize whether you want to still run with your old system, trying out this and ease into one another. But the best thing I can provide and how we allow customers to overcome this is you have a constant support team. And what I'm realizing between talking with Dave and myself is that that seems to be a very common thread that we share together, is that there is always someone there to walk you through a process. We have trainings that we record, we provide that to you, documentation we're loading out. If you understand that there's something important upcoming, we will wake up that morning alongside you to monitor and see what's going on and how we can help with it. I think that is the biggest thing we have to push for customers overcoming any difficulties. Give us the time, give us the effort, and we'll get you on that pan.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that too. So like I think like Luke said, like change is hard. Anytime you ask anybody to try something new, there's always going to be hesitation. And the first time that you try something, there might be struggles. One thing that I always remind people of at the core of what OnStation does is simplicity. We were designed to be a useful tool to the road worker, and everything that we do, everything that we add to the product is that like at the forefront of it. And just one example I'll give, Jess and I were just in Indianapolis. We were visiting the Finish Line project, which is a major project just south of the city of Indianapolis. We had a group of about 15 teachers from local high schools that were there to learn more about technology and how it's shaping the civil construction industry. And I don't know, Jess, within 5 minutes, we had those 15 teachers downloaded the app, created their account, and they were already like wheels spinning in their head of like, this is so cool that we can use a common tool that's familiar to all of us, a cell phone or a tablet, in order to provide the information that's so critical to all the work that we do. So I guess all of that to say is that, yes, change is hard, but and like Luke said, we pride ourselves in our customer service. We want to be walking right alongside you as you're implementing new technology and new processes. So however we can help ease that burden, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I'm going to add, just because there's been a lot of tech development within our industry in the past like couple of years, specifically, if you're not using these systems today, you're going to be using them at some point. So whether they're hard or easy to implement, they're going to be implemented in some point in your journey in the future. So I do have to say that FleetWatcher does a very good job. Specifically, Luke, I've worked very closely with him of really onboarding and training users into their system. And then the same thing with Dave on the OnStation side. We have really, really good tech support teams, and we try to be as flexible as well for our users. And I think both systems are very good at making the technology made for the users as well. So it makes sense once you start using them. So that's great. That's all the time we sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone, but we've reached our time limit. But keep sending in questions. We will respond to them even after the webinar. But I'd like to thank everyone on behalf of the OnStation and FleetWatcher teams for coming. And as I said earlier, be on the lookout for an email that you'll get from us for feedback. And also our teams will be following up in case you'd like to learn more information or you want to implement this integration. But thanks again and stay safe out there. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.